y'all. I thought I would come on today and tell you about the books that I finished in January, and I'm going to include February in this because for some reason there were only 5 books total, and usually I read a lot more than that. But anyhow, let's get started. And if you're a big reader, let me know in the comments below what your favorite genre is. Mine happens to be kind of mystery or historical or documentary, things like that. I'm not real big on sci-fi, YA. Sometimes I'll branch out and read that, and I think I'm going to try to do a little bit more of that this year just to kind of stretch myself a little bit. So anyhow, the weather around here has been beautiful. It has just surpassed the days that we spent without power, and it was icy and rainy and cold outside. Chris and I have spent a lot of time outside getting some things done in the yard, and I planted spinach today and lettuce today in the beds and cabbage, and put some things under the grow light. So it felt good. It felt really good to be out in the sunshine and just soak up some of the vitamin D. I have to tell you about something I did today. I went to the grocery store, and normally I am like a fanatic about wearing my mask. Like, it's just one of those things that I do. And I went into the grocery store and I picked up some cabbage and some chicken wings for Chris and I. And it's like a 10-mile trip to the grocery store one way for us. So it was just like kind of just to get out of the house. And so I walk in and I pick out my cabbage and I talk to the woman in front of me, and I go over and I'm looking at all the chicken wings, trying to get the best deal for the buck, and kind of, you know. And I'm walking out and I get to the car and I'm like, and I went to take my mask off and it wasn't there. I forgot to wear a mask. Like, that is the first time since probably March I have forgotten to wear a mask. I was like, who am I? I know, right? So if I start coughing, you'll know why. Anyhow, let's get on to the books that I read. All 5 of them. The first one was an audiobook, and it was called Queen Elizabeth. I have it on my phone because I listen to it when I go to bed. Queen of the World by Robert Hartman. It was a 25-hour audiobook, and it really drug on. I did learn a lot of things that I didn't know, and I will totally admit I am a royal fangirl. I try to keep up on all of them. It's been that way since I was really, really young. And the things that I realized were, one, that Queen Elizabeth was a lot stronger person than I thought she was. She's a mediator for her country, and that is just remarkable, the way she does things. 2, it was kind of funny about the different dignitaries that came for state visits. For instance, the Romanian head of state, I don't know what they call him. You really had to make sure things were nailed down, or they went home to Romania. They were kind of a freaky bunch. I learned about Prince Charles and how Andrew Parker Bowles was was head of the guard of Queen Elizabeth, of the palace, Buckingham Palace, and how Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles met. That just blows my mind. that really has to be love, and I have to respect and appreciate that. As much as I love Lady Di, I also respect that here is a guy who's going to be king, maybe someday. I don't know. He's the oldest heir apparent that has ever been. And here's this woman who's not as beautiful as Princess Diana, but yet he loves her very, very deeply. And he said that that this was unequivocally what was going to happen, that she was his soulmate. And so I respected that for him. As much as I hate divorce and the whole, I respected him for that. I had a huge crush on Prince Charles when I was, whatever year he had his coronation. And I remember I was laying in my grandmother's living room on the floor watching the coronation. It's like, I, Charles, Prince of Wales, to become your league man of earthly worship, faith, and trust. And I'm like, oh. And my grandmother actually cut the article out of the newspaper the next day and gave it to me, because she was like that. I think she had a crush on him too. So anyhow, I kind of just give this a 3 thumbs up because it really, really drug along. I'm telling you some information that was sort of useless in a way. It didn't add to the stories. It was long. 25 hours. That's a long audiobook. So anyhow, while I did learn some things, and I am a royal fangirl, I still only give it a 3. Okay, the next book I read was on Kindle, my Kindle, and it was called Shadow Sands. And it is a thriller by Robert Brindza, Brindza. And it was good. It was one of those things where I kind of sat there and I was like, should I turn the page? Oh my gosh, should I turn the page? Especially if I was reading it after Chris had gone to bed. I'm not one into thrillers. I love mysteries, but I'm not one into thrillers. And so this was kind of a like, what do I do? What do I do? But it was good. And this is not the first book I've read by him. I read another series, a collection of 3 books that he had written, and they're all thrillers. They're good. They keep you on the edge of your seat. It's a good thing to keep your mind away from anything else that you might be thinking of at the time. I gave it a 4. Okay, my next book was a new series that I started, and it was also on my Kindle, and it was called Hooked on Murder, and it's a crochet mystery, and you know how much I love crochet, and it was by Betty Hechtman, and I saw so many of the themes of the really top-notch mystery writers that I follow in this book, but yet it did its job. Like, I could sit down and read and I didn't have to concentrate on it, and it wasn't like mind-boggling or anything. I could just get taken away for a little bit of time, and so Hooked on Murder did its job. If you need a light read, nothing over the top, Hooked on Murder. I'm currently reading the second book in the series. I didn't think I was going to, but it's just too easy of a read and too great of a distraction not to. So Hooked on Murder was my 3rd book. My 4th book was Egg Shooters by Laura Childs, and Laura Childs happens to be one of my favorite mystery writers. Once again, it's not deep, it's not something you have to think about. seriously, but it is definitely a good distraction piece, and I appreciated it, and I love all her books. Egg Shooters is about a woman and her friends who run a little cafe with a knit shop and a bookshop connected to it, which is quaint. I love it. Wish I were there. Wish I did it. And I give it a 4.5. It was really, really a good distraction. I love the way Laura Childs writes. So, okay, book number 5 was another audiobook called Bless Her Dead Heart. And the reason I picked it is because I do like mysteries, and Chris and I have this thing about, well, it's just a Southern thing, that, you know, when you don't want to say something mean about somebody, then you just say, oh, bless their heart. That's just a total Southern thing that I just totally love. It's like, oh, did you know so-and-so did so-and-so? Well, bless her heart. I mean, it's just the absolute best line you can give anybody. Just bless her heart. I didn't really, I think it was like maybe a 10-hour audiobook, something like that. It drug along. It really, really did. And halfway through, you could almost guess who the antagonist was, who the protagonists were. I mean, it left nothing to suspense in there. I'm probably not going to read the next book in this series or listen to the next book in this series. But like I said, I do listen to audiobooks when I fall asleep at night, and to be real honest, I would wake up in the morning and have to go back 4 or 5 chapters, because I would wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and be like, what? What's somebody talking about? What? And realize the earpiece was in my ear and I was still listening to the audiobook, but I had fallen asleep like 3 hours before, so kind of give it a 2. Just can't give it more than a 2. So anyhow, tell me what you've been reading. If you're a member of any kind of book club, I would be interested in joining one. Ours are all virtual here in Oxford, North Carolina, and I kind of would like to expand my horizons now that I feel better about getting out and doing things. And reading is definitely one of my favorite things. I was that kid who sat underneath the blankets with the flashlight on reading books when I was a young girl. So anyhow, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that button, and let's be friends, okay? Tell me what you're reading. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.